Alright guys, Crude Oil Trader here coming at you right near the close here, 2:22 Eastern, 8 minutes away from the close. I didn't take any trades today, didn't see a whole lot of action. As a matter of fact, most of the action I've seen is happening right now as we speak. Market is selling off. Looks like it's selling off with the indexes. Here's the NASDAQ. You can see the NASDAQ had a hard sell-off. Apple took another hit today, went under the 500 mark, rallied up through some high volume areas, and then pushed it right back through again, which is a pretty common occurrence. But the S&Ps, it's a different story there. Um, they did sell off this morning, but much less. This was an early morning sell-off, and then it rallied pretty much after the open. So it's kind of a different scenario for the S&Ps. Less tech in the S&Ps, that's why. But interesting to note this close right now. We're having a pretty good sell-off, but my feeling is, and we'll see, this is just for me from watching from experience, that we might see a rally into the close into this area, and then it'll just flatline. But if there's a real reason for this move, it could hold up and continue. But if it's just somebody pushing it around to take out stops, it should probably bounce back up into here, maybe even drift into these levels again. But anyway, just wanted to get a video out there today as a personal journal, if nothing else. Nothing for me. You can see this is my momentum watch, and I don't see anything that warrants any type of big move. We actually had more moves yesterday. You can tell by the range of the chart, but you can see there's more of a move down here, more of a move up. This one was into the close, so I didn't take it, but nonetheless, that's what I saw. In terms of gold's doing its thing again. It had some volatility overnight, a little rally, and then a sell-off, and then a little Z action here, and it looks like a very just go long. You could have went long at 1:30 in the morning and just held. Right now, it was all over the place, but it is in an uptrend. So that's what I see in gold, and that's pretty much everything, man. There's not a whole lot going on in crude. You can see it's kind of respecting this pivot point at 93.81, putting up some volume above it, held the 93.34s, and this sell-off was started with some good decent volume. You can see it volume, and then this is what typically happens of late, is they have the sell-off, and then the brakes get put on right away. So you have to. My trading strategy is I need to get into every trade signal that I get, because you never know how far it might go. But the only factor that I have, two factors, is one is news, and then one is the close. Because from experience, I've seen the close where, like yesterday, it rallied, but then it just stopped. So, you would have made some money on this rally, but in my opinion, it's not worth it. It's too frustrating to sit there and have a 2-hour move of 14s to 30s, 15 ticks in 2 hours. Is painstaking in my opinion. I'd rather poke my eyes out than go through that. So looking at the crude today, the same kind of thing, opposite though. It's selling off, but I take every trade that I get except for news and the close. The news, anything can happen, like with the EIA crude release. It can send it up and send it back down again. So I don't really take anything on that. I have been looking at this net change indicator. Just interesting. It just shows where we're at versus the prior pit close. Are we below? Are we above? And how much? It's interesting that sometimes you see like the net change solid figures. If it gets down to $1, it might bounce. Gets up $1, it might sell off. It's all dependent upon how much momentum you have and what the range is and all that. But I'm just kind of taking a look at it while the market's slow, while there's not a whole lot for me to do. It gives me something to not distract myself, but I'm always looking for a new strategy, ways to improve what I'm doing, and throw another indicator up there just to watch. As long as it's not distracting your main focus, I find it isn't a bad thing to do. So now we're holding these 93.30s and just toggling around, and we're 3 minutes off the close. So let's look at let's open it up a little bit. Let's look at the 30-minute. Looks like it wants to sell to me. It does. It looks like it wants to sell more. Maybe it's going to try to push it down here to the evens or 69s. I doubt we're going to get down to these 69s, but it's anybody's guess. Volume's coming in, but now we see on the 1 minute, you can look at this black bar, which means there's buying volume coming in. So right now there's more buying volume, so that would mean that we're not going to see a whole lot of follow through down at this point. So that might have been the stops coming through. So 93s are holding. 2 minutes to close. I'm going to hang in here and close this thing with you guys to see what kind of action we can get. And we still have black bar on here. It is showing a little weakness though, but not a whole lot. Looking at the correlated markets, NASDAQ, it's probably why crude's selling off, because the NASDAQ is. So that's what we have in the NASDAQ. I don't want to crowd the charts over here too much though, so I'll put them on the screen. So now we're sitting on 25s, 26s. See a little volume cluster come in, which sometimes when you see those volume clusters come in, it can mean that they're buying it. But in this case, I just think it's the pit closing orders, because we're at 229. We have 1 minute left until close, and not any real directional movement. It's just holding in there. Sometimes in the last minute you see a lot of volatility. That's why I'm keeping this video on. But it might be interesting to talk about it as I see it. And nothing happening so far. You see volume's definitely building. In this last minute, you're going to find this volume just spiking. Price holding steady. NASDAQ still selling off a little bit. I'm gonna have to see I'm curious where Apple is. I'll check that out later. So here we come down, 93 close, 93.34. They close at 93.35-ish. So uneventful close, in my humble opinion. And now pretty far away from high volume areas. I mean, it's tough, at least for today. If I pull prior charts, I'm sure I'll see a lot of clusters around here. That's probably why it stopped. And maybe I'll do that just if you guys have a second. I'll pull up a recent chart. Let me see what the most recent chart I have is. Going to the clipboard here. All right, I have from the 9th, which is last week, but it should still be a pretty good read on it. So here is the 9th. There's a lot of volume at 93.11, and you can see it didn't stop at 93.11, it got close, but it was a volume ledge at 93.45, which is where it's at now. So it's interesting how it goes to the high volume areas, and that's a good support. I'm not a real volume profile trader, but I've been around people that are, and they love it. And I don't know if it's my style, but I do like to look at volume profile, because it does seem to, like, the best example is the NASDAQ of today. So let's take a look at this. You can see it opened, well, this is the morning action. This is actually 3:30 in the morning, so it sold off. But then we had this is 9 o'clock, and you had the New York Open, and it sold off more. Hit the brakes at 27.06, 27.05, 25. And then it rallied back up into this high volume. Now, obviously, this volume was built as it went up, and then it went right back through the volume down again. So the market likes to trade in the high volume areas. It doesn't always do that in the high volume from the same day. It can do it from prior days, and I don't have the prior day information for this, but what I've seen happen often is it flushes, goes back, tests some other high volume area, then goes down and gobbles up that volume. It's almost like a Pac-Man type of thing. Is the best way I can think to explain it to you, because it's taking all the volume here, and then it's taking it back. If anybody has an answer as to why that happens, I'd love to hear an explanation, because I don't know why it happens, but I see it happen a lot, and that's all you really need to know. You don't have to understand why necessarily. You can trade off of that and make money, But it would be nice to know, like, why is it hitting the brakes right around here? I mean, this was the low, but there was a lot of volume in there. So it's interesting to note. I am not a market profile expert, so I'll leave that up to them. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this video up. Thanks for hanging in there, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.